Hello, it's Frances Reaves, and look who my host is today. Good old Michael Miller.
We're going to have a good time, and it's always fun with you.
It
right?
is
Always.
fun. It is fun. And Michael, what have you been up to? I haven't seen you in forever.
Well, we're delighted that the pandemic is over,
Yay!
right? And the world that I'm in is very forgiving, and people are open now, and they're very receptive. We just did an event not too long ago with the governor,
Right, I
And
saw
coming
that.
up in a week and a half, Charlie Crist is going to be our guest.
Wow.
So we got both sides there, all right?
Great.
So it's going to be a lot of fun, and so we've been doing a lot of that. Grandkids, I went fishing with them, and when I drove up to Crooked Crook on that Sunday to get bait, I wanted to stand there in the parking lot and pound my chest. I'm going fishing with my grandson. It was a big deal for me.
How
So
old is he?
He's 7 now, third grade. Right? Pretty bright. Charlotte is 5. And they're that old saying, apple of my eye. Great, and I spent some time with them last night, so I've been doing that, and business is good, and so here
Do
we
you
are.
appreciate life a little bit more, do you think?
Too.
Yeah, I
Right?
do too. Absolutely.
And and speaking of parentyourparents.com, which is one of the things we've learned with that, there are two people I know disconnected to one another. I'm the only connection. Both of them were having heart surgery on the same day.
Oh,
On the
wow.
same day.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I'm going, all right, so what does that mean? And I'm looking around introspectively, right? And I go, wow. Both of them, one, both were opened up.
Oh,
not
wow.
not a little thing.
Yeah.
Right? And speaking of appreciating life, you go, yes. And so there's this new time. It's almost for me a new year, springtime. So I see that enthusiasm in myself and in the places where I go.
Yeah.
So tell us what you did last weekend.
Oh my gosh, we had so much fun. We had Key Biscayne Car Week, of which Emerson Fittipaldi is the chair, and I don't know how many of you saw it, but we interviewed him here.
I saw that. You interviewed him.
We interviewed him here at Miami Community News and had lots and lots of photos taken.
Yes.
And
If I remember right, it took 30 minutes for him to get from the front door to over here. And Francis is going, what about me?
I know. Hello. And your employee Eduardo was
Yes.
there for the whole thing. He was there for Saturday when we had the vintage cars, and then on Sunday, Emerson narrated the Singapore Grand Prix, and then talked about his faith, which is always captivating. And then we had a brunch for everybody. And you know, I was Emerson's attachment, and by that I was with him the whole time. And I'm amazed. First of all, he is a phenomenal athlete. 5 world championships, the youngest in F1 and the oldest in Indianapolis 500.
Okay, let me see if I got this right. In comparing a sport, a profession, being the champion is like being the quarterback of a Super Bowl team.
It's like Tom
winning
Brady.
Super Bowl 5 times.
5 times,
Yes.
exactly. 2 in Formula One cars and 3 in Indy cars. One of them was the kart championship, which then came into the Indy. So he really doesn't talk about the kart, but it really, I mean, it's pretty amazing. But the man is so nice.
Yes.
Oh my God, I cannot believe his patience.
When he was here, he was so cordial.
Cordial?
Yeah, it was just like, wow, people were just coming over. I want a picture. One young guy go, who is he? Get in the picture. One day you're going to appreciate it.
I know. I remember. And one sort of moment for me, I was with Emerson at the Emerson Fittipaldi booth, and 3 teenage girls who really didn't know who Emerson was. Their parents thought he was pretty important. At any rate, and they came up to me and they said, hi, do you remember? This is what they said. They said, hi, do you remember we were there at that village council meeting with you? And what had happened at the Key Biscayne Village Council is I am the president of my condo, and on the Key Biscayne President's Council as well, because I'm the president of my condo. And we were having some water issues because blah, blah, blah. So at any rate, I go up to speak, and I know everyone on the council, and one of the council members says, "Oh, Frances, you all know we love you." And so I turn, all the kids were there because they'd gotten a big prize, and I turn to them and I say, all the kids, I go, "Isn't that nice? He loves me. Now if we can just get him to vote my way." And then I turn back around, and the kids love that. And you forget what an impression you make until it comes back to you. I mean, this is 8 months later, maybe 9 months later, but God bless. Oh, I thought it was a sneeze. Watch yourself, Michael. At any rate, so they came up, and of course, they were even more impressed that I knew Emerson. So for me, it's one of those I can't believe this is me moments, because I was at the 1993 Indianapolis 500 when he won. I had picked his name out of the hat, and I won money, which, by the way, he still wants a part of. I won money for that, and now I have his cell phone number. To me, it's like, wow. And what does that show you, Michael? You just keep moving forward.
Yes.
That's all it is.
And so one of the things that you point out is that as you move through your life, all right, and you're friendly with people, you just never know when that's going to have this next connection. I wanted to share something which I haven't shared before. We had somebody that does a show here. We invited her, and she showed up to our recent breakfast, and the president of a local TV station was there. I introduced the two of them, and now the person that had a show here is going to have an Instagram live show in January because she showed up there and because she got introduced to somebody. And that's how that stuff happens.
That's how it happens.
And it's like they didn't know each other, and it was all this woman that did it, but it was getting everybody in the right position.
Exactly.
To happen.
Well, you're a great connector, Michael.
Well,
you have been great about connecting me with people, and I've shown
Well,
up.
I expect to see you just for Charlie Crist.
I am. Is it coffee again?
No, it's lunch.
Oh, lunch. I'm good.
The coffee means what that means, folks. You'd have to get up bright and early.
Really early. I walk and run every morning.
So we won't interrupt that.
Okay.
You can have chicken again.
Yeah, I can hardly wait to see Charlie again.
Right. So here we are. It looks like the weather's a couple degrees cooler than a month ago. It is. It's almost, it's like almost good.
And the humidity has dropped,
Yes.
which is really terrific.
Yes. And maybe our rainstorms are gone for a while.
For a while, but we didn't have much rain.
Yes.
That was an issue. And also there is one little thing I want to talk about. I'm not going to talk about it during, I already know who my next guest is for Parent Your Parents. But I want to talk to this about you because, as you know, my husband has dementia. So I have been learning to live with dementia and, the whole caretaking thing, et cetera, et cetera. But let me just tell everyone here, it's not a big deal because Tom can still take care of himself. He does not need 24-hour care. And however, this is what I discovered going to the doctors with him, which is upsetting at a minimum. So we went to see his neuropsychologist, Dr. Mark Agronin, who's the head of the Mind Institute at Miami Jewish, is Tom's psychiatrist, and he's our dementia doctor, and he's fabulous. And caring. So I thought everybody was. So we go at Dr. Agronin's suggestion, we go see for a quote-unquote baseline on Tom. And so I go in with them, and this doctor asked Tom, about his life, and then he says to me, in front of my husband, he says, "What does Tom no longer do that he used to do?" And I found it extremely difficult to speak ill of my husband. Or if it had been my mother, I think I would have felt the same way. In other words, I was not raised to say bad things about people. You know, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. And the truth of the matter is, I do say bad things about people, but not in front of the person.
So that was the issue, that it was in
Right.
front of him, and to remind, unfortunately, in this case, Tom, hey, you used to do this and you don't do it anymore. Therefore,
Right.
all right,
And so I mentioned a couple of things, and he got very defensive, and I just stopped. I stopped because here's what happens. Tom's going to forget about it. We now know he doesn't have memory over a minute long, sometimes maybe 3. Now, he can talk about the Civil War, he can talk about World War II, he can talk about his childhood. All of that stuff is fine, which happens a lot. But he can't, you know, I can't say to him, go to the 3rd floor and think that he'll get to the 3rd floor. All right. So the truth is, Tom will forget I said that, but I don't.
Yeah.
And then the same thing would happen with the cardiologist.
so you're an attorney, and part of your practice includes
It's elder law.
Yeah, it's elder law, and helping families,
And advocating, yeah.
helping families take care of their loved one.
Their loved ones.
So now, after all these years,
I'm doing it.
it comes right back.
I mean, he couldn't have a better advocate, right? So when I saw Dr. Gronin, we saw him together on Monday. I'd already written him an email about these 2 doctors and how it didn't bother them at all, that bad thing. And in fact, one thing I said in front of the cardiologist, Tom, if he hadn't been raised a better person, he would have he was so angry with me for doing it. And I would have been angry too. I would have been hurt
Angry that you did what?
that I said what I said about his memory, his physical condition.
So at this point, if somebody's watching you
Uh-huh.
right now and saying, I'm getting ready to go see with my loved one, the doctor, all right? What would you say you learned from speaking openly like that in front of their loved one?
It's going to be very difficult. And I also want you to know you don't have to do it. The only reason the doctors do it, and it's all insurance, right? They get paid for 15 minutes a person. Boom, especially managed care. So they're not going to give you any more time of day. So if you have the means, I would go to doctors that will stay with you for 20 minutes. And I would say to them in the very beginning, I want to talk to you privately before I speak to my husband. And I would tell the office. Now, I've told offices a lot of things. I mean, those doctors' offices, the doctor rarely gets the message. And let me say this, I don't really blame the doctor. It's really an office manager issue. But now that I'm so aware of all of this, I told Dr. Gronin on Monday, I said, I think there have to be CMEs, continuing medical education, for doctors because, I mean, baby boomers are coming.
So in this case, when you see somebody, even though they may not be touching or examining, that conversation is part of the medical attention
Right.
that patient
Right.
is getting.
They want me to speak badly of my husband in front of my husband. I can't do that.
But the interpretation is bad. Maybe he just needed some facts. But for you, right? It's like, holy moly! I don't want to tell my loved one over here that remember you used to do this, and you don't do that anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't cook anymore. And also, I have a girlfriend, one of my walking buddies. She says the exact same thing about her when she goes with her mother, and her mother doesn't want to hear her say it.
How long you been doing elder care?
2017. So what is that? 8 years now.
8 years. So in those 8 years,
This
this is it right now, that your clients perhaps have gone through that, and so you'll have some new advice,
Yeah.
or something new to share with them. This might happen to you, and here's a way to prevent that from happening.
Exactly. And I also told Dr. Agronin that I thought he should be responsible for the CMEs and start that at the Mind Institute, and I should help teach.
So one of the things that I'm hearing, you have to be an advocate.
You have to. You
Because
can't let them go alone.
Yeah, yeah, and making sure they make the appointments. And there are people that I know because they're afraid to go and they weren't married, guys, all right, that their diagnosis got, not their disease got substantially worse because there was nobody there promoting them, advocating for them,
Right.
calling, making sure they showed up, making sure they didn't get scared.
And do you know how much time that takes out of the day? I mean, that I'm a working woman. You know, I have trusts, I have wills, I have Medicaid planning, and Medicaid planning, that's something else we're going to talk about.
So
Oof.
let's talk about the folks over on the West Coast, if we could skip over
Oh, yeah,
there.
I'd love to. Sure.
And planning. So here are the people, forgive me, I don't know what day it was, but 100 people are dead. All
I
right?
know, can
Plus-
you believe it?
Gone.
Right.
And none of them were expecting it, all right? They woke up, they said there's going to be a storm, we're going to be okay. And so if those people did not have wills, what happens?
Well, if they have any property, like a house, they have to go to probate court.
The survivors have to go to probate court.
Right. And the judge then makes a decision as to how the property is going to be divided.
So if like there's 4 family members,
They all have to go.
right? And each one of them has to get
And
an
we
attorney,
see it all
right?
the time. And look, if you don't have anything, if you were renting, if everything's gone and someone in your home died, first, I'm extremely, extremely sorry. I mean, it's a sudden death. But the good news is you can mourn because you can just divide it up and not have to go before a judge. It's only if they owned things of value. I mean, even a $10,000 piece of jewelry can be a thing of value.
So if somebody had a will 10 or 15 years ago, they really need to go revisit that.
They have to go revisit that.
Right.
I'm doing that for someone who everyone would know if I said that. His will has not been revisited since his first child was born, and she's 31.
And so this is a good time for people. We have a new year that's coming up.
Coming
all right?
up.
And Happy New Year to folks that are already
Rosh
celebrating
Hashanah,
that.
and you've atoned,
Yes.
so now's the time.
I'm still working it, baby.
I know. I try to atone every day.
And let's so that's as far as wills. People need to revisit it, make sure that's what they want.
Right.
Because the children could be a lot older. Maybe maybe it's a different wife, or maybe who knows? Some people from the past have popped up. Let's talk about people over there who had windstorm insurance and no flood insurance. Theoretically, the insurance companies are going to say, "Sorry, you did not have
Flood.
windstorm. I mean, you did not have flood insurance.
Right.
The windstorm damage you're getting paid for, but the flood, we're not paying for that.
No, they won't.
There are 100,000 plus claims. I don't know how many are like significant damage, but every claim is, a lot.
And
Right.
and you know what that's going to happen to our insurance, Michael?
Yes, we all pay for that.
Yeah, we all
Right.
pay for that.
So I was just looking to increase my outside stuff the week before. I'm going, this might be a good week to do that. I'm afraid to ask how much it is now. So these people a lot of people are going to wind up with a whole lot less, and a lot of wooden homes that are gone, and new
And trailer,
yeah.
and
and new zoning, new building requirements for new buildings. You know what it's going to be? It's going to be like Miami. It's going to be tougher, and that is for lots of good reasons, and it's lots of more money.
yeah. Remember Andrew? I mean, that decimated us.
Yes.
And now building is so much more expensive. You have to get it up so high, and even Surfside, as the president of my condominium, our insurance, because of Surfside, because of
Key Biscayne.
Key Biscayne, Key Colony on Key Biscayne, one of the buildings, I am the president of our board. And we have done everything, everything, everything we could. We've never had a claim 30% because of Surfside. And what happened to Surfside? A bad board, bad inspectors, and bad developers. You know, they didn't build it to code to begin with. And they just watched that happen. So one bad apple, and the insurance companies now run all the condos.
Yes.
I'm really glad I don't live in a single home,
So this is all due respect to all the people that have suffered from that.
of course.
But across the country, I would wonder what it'd be like in the last 20 years, how many buildings have fallen from a non-event, I mean a sudden event, not an
Right.
earthquake or an explosion.
Right.
It's tiny,
Yeah.
right? But that set the stage for all of us to be paying significantly more.
Well, and guess what? If I move to Chicago, do you think I'm going to live on one of those 80-story places right next to Lake Michigan? I don't think so. No, I'm going to go to the townhouse. No.
So tell us about parentyourparents.com, and what about, you've been doing some writing recently?
I have, and I updated the book. I added a little more sex stories to the book
Perfect.
and tips. Who knew? Who knew elders needed sex tips? But I added that. I added my husband's dementia, and I added what I've gone through. This has really been, this is my year. This year is one that proves Robert Frost saying, the only way out is through, and I am almost through 2 lawsuits, none of which I, had anything to do with. The other one was I didn't have an indemnification agreement in my contract with my social media person, and it was intellectual property. It's going to end up being $55,000 in legal fees. Legal fees.
So-
And no one pays for that except Frances Reaves.
So what that means is if you hire somebody to do some work for you, and the images that they put in there, if I have this correct, all right,
Uh-huh.
from what I can recall, and it's not
It's
paid for,
copyrighted.
not
If
paid
it's
for, right,
copyrighted.
right, and you use it, the end consumer of it is responsible for it. Forget the other person, all right? Who's got the money?
I'm going to tell you what the magistrate judge told me. He gave me this example of when people trip and fall on cruise ships. And he says, because I kept telling the magistrate judge, I said, hey, what about these 2 people who were doing the work? They were independent contractors. And what is it? The metaphor was I was the cruise ship. They go after the person with the most money.
So but if you had the indemnification, right? So that would mean that doesn't make you not liable. It means that they're liable.
They have to pay for it.
But if they don't
have
have
to
the
pay.
capacity to pay for it, where does it go,
I'm still down and out for the count.
right? And they're
You know this,
Just-
don't you, Michael?
I do, right? And so there's a statute of limitations on things. If somebody came back to us after 5 years, I said, isn't there a statute? Yeah, there is. But since it's on the internet, it's today.
Oh, my God.
It's today.
Well, what was really amazing about this case was how mean the lawyers on the other side were, including the client. Through the production, I received settlements, and everyone I called, they discussed how mean these lawyers are. There's no reason to be mean, ever.
So you have intellectual property that was gotten off the internet.
Uh-huh.
You wound, that's right. It wound up on your in something
On
that
my
you had-
Instagram and
on
my
your-
LinkedIn, yes. Yeah, and we tagged, we tagged the photographer, and that's how we found it. So we talked about how beautiful these photos were, and what a great image it was.
Andres, are you listening to this? Yeah.
We tagged the photographer. He doesn't give us a cease and desist letter and ask us for a couple $1,000s. No, they want to know my insurance company. Well, legal malpractice does not cover this sort of thing.
It is. Their property's there, and they sort of rented it to you for a little while.
Yeah,
Because
we took it off the minute. Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't do it.
Oh my gosh! But guess who lost? They did.
And why is that?
Because there were no damages.
So you're pretty happy.
$55,000 in legal fees.
And this is not legal advice at all right?
No,
All right.
no, not at all.
And there are plenty of times when you're involved with something, you say, how much is it going to cost to get out of this? And that means total dollars, not
Right.
say, well, this is the fine over here. Yeah, but if it costs you all this, why don't you just take it and
Came out of my savings.
Yep.
Came out of my savings. It was a very difficult lesson to learn, and it happened at the same time Tom was failing.
So when
So
you look,
this year, I'm almost
you're-
out, baby.
and so you're pretty tough. You got all this stuff that's happening.
Woo-wee.
You obviously were able to compartmentalize some of that stuff and say, okay,
Yeah.
here, when I'm ready, I'm going to go visit that, all right?
Mm-hmm.
You walk is sort of meditative for you. When you go out there and you do that, you do lots of good breathing exercises when you go do that.
And I know in my heart of hearts, and it's not that I'm a religious person. I don't know why I read Robert Frost. The only way out is going through. But it has been my mantra. It has really been my mantra.
You've heard people say, "I'll see you on the other side."
Right. That's totally it.
And so, okay,
Yeah.
when I used to be a runner, we'd say, "See you at the starting line," or "See you at the finish line."
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. I'm not at the finish line yet. There's still a few more things I have to do, but I've ramped up my law practice, and I'm really proud of myself, Michael, because Tom, there are issues with Tom, but I don't have them under control, but I know how to deal with them.
So you're managing this stuff, all right?
Uh-huh.
It's sort of like a disease process within yourself. Diabetes gets managed, all right?
Right.
So you figured out how to manage all this stuff and have all these
Balls.
stuff floating around.
Right.
That's terrific.
I've learned how to juggle, and I have found partners who will take the balls from time to time, because sometimes you have to ask for help.
Yeah. And I think that's the hardest thing, especially for men. Never ask for directions. all
Right.
So
That's why they have female astronauts.
Yes, imagine that. By the way, I'm going to do a shout out for Darlene Fernandez, who is the first woman director of MDX. Congratulations to her.
You had Cafecito. Or
Yes, and it's tremendous that everybody saw that. Say that would be a good thing. And
You're so good to women. You have a lot of women come through here.
Yeah, so we're particularly proud of trying to move that glass ceiling and trying to scope it. I'm still working on the issues of me helping myself and others have conversations about race without being racist.
Yeah.
And having open conversations. I've learned just let it bubble, right?
Yeah.
And see what's back there.
Right.
So you can decide what, if anything, that you want to do, about that.
It's true.
So,
It's true.
It's always a pleasure with
Michael,
you. Frances Reaves,
I've missed
parentsyourparents.com, right
you.
here.
I've missed you.
right.
I'll see you again in the new year.
Yes, you will. And Happy New Year to you and
Thank
to
you,
all your
sir.
friends and to your family. Why don't you sign us out?
I will. Well, hey, it's Michael Miller,
Frances Reaves.
the publisher of Miami News or Community News.
It's all right. Just
You change it so many times, and let me say in this new year that it's Michael who has given me this chance to reach all of you, and for that I thank you, Michael. Thank you.
thank you for doing a great job. Folks, thanks for being here. Have a great day. Take care of yourselves.
Bye, producer.